One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.
As you matriculate through this profession and through the industry, and now you've become an assistant AD or associate AD, and now you're managing people, managing a staff is arguably one of the biggest challenges that you have as an AD. But for a first-time manager at, say, a director or assistant AD level, how do you advise them and how do you mentor them on the appropriate ways in which they need to continue to advance their own career, but think about how to position their own people best?
Yeah, and you're right. That's a really, I think, difficult undertaking, and you have to kind of, I believe, identify those people that can manage people. That's the first thing. Not everybody's a good manager. You've got some people that are really good workers, but maybe not great leaders, and you have to be able to distinguish the difference between those two. What we do here is I have certainly different athletic or assistant athletic directors, and we have young people. Those people always report to our assistant ADs, and our assistant ADs report up, if you will, to our senior associate, or even myself. I've got a marketing situation where the director of marketing reports directly to me, and I want that. Not only because I want to know what's going on with the marketing, but again, that's my background, and I want to be able to help that person. I work with the multimedia rights area folks, and I want to be more involved in that area, and I want them to at least know what I'm thinking, because I think that helps them in terms of, one, what we want to do with our athletic department in terms of our strategies, but also I can help them improve, answer their questions, and at least they're getting it from the athletics director. So I don't think that's anything unique necessarily to athletic departments, but I always like someone that reports to somebody else, and they feel like then that they can ask and interact with that supervisor. In terms of who I have our senior associates and our associates athletic directors. I want people to be involved. So even our layers of people in administration, we all meet together. I have them meet with other people on campus. When we're talking about certain championships or big events, I have everybody involved in that. Again, some of it's by necessity because we need everybody involved to understand what's going on. But the other reason is because I was fortunate enough when I was growing up in this industry that I was included in those types of meetings. So it means a lot to me to just, you don't have to maybe necessarily interact. You just necessarily have to sit and listen, and you learn from that point. And I think that's really, really important. When we're trying to get interns to come here and GAs, that's one of the things that I sell them on is that, hey, you're going to be involved in senior leadership meetings. You're going to be involved in all of our meetings. Again, there's going to be some things that they may not be involved with, but if it's a coaching hire, for example, they wouldn't be involved in that. But I will talk with them afterwards as to how the process went. And I think that's important that we give young people and young professionals at least an idea of why we do things. They may not agree with it, but at least there's a reason behind it.
So you spent a long stretch, as you mentioned, at Kentucky with just one AD, or was CM there the whole time, or did you have a couple different ones?
Actually, I had three of them. The first AD and the one that hired me was Cliff Hagan, and then after Mr. Hagan, then it was Coach Newton for the longest period of time, for 12 years, and then Larry Ivy was there for the last 2 years. So I was actually, technically I had three, and then there was an interim between Mr. Hagan and Coach Newton. So I actually had four in my time there.
Well, let's talk about the difference in leadership style, if there was one, between a guy like CM Newton at Kentucky and Tom Jurich at Louisville, which, one of the interesting storylines of your career, and I have this perspective living in Louisville and growing up in Louisville. Has there been anybody else who's worked at Kentucky and then in Louisville or the other direction in college athletics history? I mean, that doesn't happen too often.
Well, I would say the only one would be Coach Pitino.
Well, right. Right.
And I'm trying to think from a perspective of a staff. I'm not aware of it, and again, I give a tremendous amount of credit to Coach Pitino because it wouldn't have happened if he wouldn't have endorsed it when he was at Louisville. And again, I give a lot of credit, of course, to Tom because Tom didn't have to do it, and certainly was probably a risk because I don't think obviously there's not a great love loss between those two institutions. So I always felt privileged as I got to work for both those institutions, and I really believe that working for Coach Newton was the best thing that ever happened to me, and then obviously working for Tom, who I think is one of the best athletic directors ever. So to be able to work for those two, I was very, very fortunate, and they both are different in their personalities. Both very successful, but very different. CM was more of a kind of a quiet. He was a Southern gentleman. He would kill you with kindness. He would kind of needle you without you not even knowing it. But a great gentleman. Had the respect of the coaches because of his coaching profession background, and certainly the people at Kentucky appreciated the tradition that he had, being one of Coach Rupp's players and just being a Kentucky person. But the great thing about CM that I always go back to this because this is how I learn, and is based upon the experiences that I had. Coach Newton included me when I wasn't a senior associate athletic director. I wasn't, at the time, part of the administrative team in terms of Kathy DeBoer, Gene DeFilippo, Larry Ivy, and CM. Those were the four main people in our administrative team, but he included me a lot, and just to kind of get the impulse of what was going on around campus with our coaches, because I was so involved, and Kathy and Gene and I were very, very close, and I think he valued my opinion, and I appreciated that. So I will forever be indebted to him for allowing me to be involved when probably I didn't deserve to be involved, but I appreciate it. In terms of Tom, different part of my career, different stage in my career, we were making a transition from just getting into the Big East when I arrived at Louisville, and marketing and national branding were really big, huge part of who Tom is about branding. And Tom was much more, I think, aggressive. He's a great dreamer. He believes things can happen when nobody else can believe that they can happen, and he gets it done. He's constantly pushing you to be your best every single day, really hands-on in terms of what he wants to have done, and gives you the resources to excel. And he was a great guy to work for because his expectations were we were going to be the best in the country at everything, and he believes that. He still believes that. And if you ask him today, where are we in the plan to be the best we can be, he'll tell you we're about 60%, because he doesn't believe he's there, and he doesn't believe he's ever going to get there. But he believes that we got to keep trying to get there, and someday we might get there, and that's his belief. And he's been very good to me, and it was a great experience to work at the University of Louisville. It was a great time when I was there. We went to the College World Series. We went to the Final Four, men's and women's. Football went to the Orange Bowl. I mean, it was an unbelievable sequence of 3 or 4 years there. And again, they've kept it up. It's not like they dropped off any. It's what he's done at the University of Louisville is mind-boggling. And I've always said nobody's done a better job than Tom. 30 years ago, back in 1995 or 96, they were about ready to drop football. When Tom came there and they were about ready to drop football. They were one vote away from dropping football, and to see what he's done in that amount of time and what he's been able to do with facilities and just energize that entire community and bring the coaches he's brought in and get to the ACC, I don't think there's been anybody from where they started when he got there to where they are now. Nobody's done a better job than Tom Jurich.
And that's today's One Question, brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. One Question is designed to give D1 Ticker subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences. One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.